Hi, in today's video I'm going to be talking about replacing my current terminal setup of urxvt and tmux with Emacs-libvterm and multi-term. Now, what is vterm? Basically, it's a fully-fledged terminal emulator inside GNU Emacs based on libvterm, a C library. As a result of using compiled code instead of elisp, Emacs-libvterm is fully capable, fast, and it can seamlessly handle large outputs. So this is a native C library that allows you to run a terminal inside Emacs at sort of native performance with other terminal emulators like urxvt. It does have a little warning saying this is in active development and it's okay to use it as a daily driver, but you know, there may be bugs. Now, multi-vterm allows you to create multiple instances of vterm, so you can have, so you can sort of launch new instances, much like you would with sort of a tmux. So what I'm going to do is actually show you what this looks like now. So normally, as I said, I'd use urxvt and tmux. So there we go. Which has the advantages of allowing you to create sort of separate tabs, you know, instead of launching new sort of terminals, basically. And the other advantage that it has is you can do stuff like enter copy mode. So if I just do that, I can then press a keyboard shortcut and, you know, enter copy mode so that I can move up and down the text and then sort of, you know, select it and yank it. So that's what we're kind of trying to replicate. So let me just exit tmux. So here's Emacs, and this is Emacs 29 running as a native Wayland application. It's built with pure GTK, and that's done using Nix, PKGs, and Home Manager that I covered in a previous video. What I'm going to do is show you vterm and multi-term. So I'll just put this full size. So first of all, we got vterm. So if I run meta x vterm, what you see, we've got the prompt up here. Okay, is it? Yeah, there we go. So you got the prompt just like you would normally, and this is basically vterm. And what I want to do is actually show you multi-term, because this allows you to create sort of multiple sessions like we would with tmux and actually rename the sort of tabs, as it were. So what I'm going to do is exit vterm, and what I've got is a keyboard shortcut that I pinched from another guy on YouTube that I'll show you later, who did some keyboard shortcuts for vterm. So if I run is that it? Yeah. Control CTV, that creates a new vterm instance. As you can see, we've got that here, and let me just bat out a file, emacs-vterm. Okay, so you can see there, that's how it's rendering the text. And another thing I want to do is actually mention something about the fonts later, because what I was using was Inconsolata, I think it's pronounced, like Tower Maslata, but not smelly. And what I found is using that particular font, the lines were breaking here. These weren't lining up, so I actually switched to another font from the system that was recommended by the System Crafters YouTube channel, and that actually fixed the font issue that I was having. As you can see here, that's all nicely rendering. And what we can do is actually rename this. You can see down here it's saying vterminal1. What we can do is we can actually rename that. So if I do Control CT R, I can rename this buffer. So I'll call this, say, like desktop. Okay, so you can now see it says vterminal desktop. So what I can do is run the keyboard shortcut. So if I run meta x, for example, here, and then run vterm dash, because I've got which key installed, what it's going to do is when I press tab, it's going to show all the commands and the associated key bindings. So you'll actually be able to see the key bindings that I've set, and I'll show you later in my Emacs config. But basically we can run control, let's see, we got copy mode, which I'll show you. Also how you copy and paste, because it's not obvious like you do control C, control V, shift control C, shift control V in normal terminals. There's a slightly different way to do it. But let me create a new, hang on, Control C T V. So the keyboard shortcut I've got set up is Control C T V, and that creates a new instance of the terminal. You can see here, terminal 1. And what I can do is run Control C T P or N to switch back between the terminal buffers. So Control C T P. You can see it's now changed to the terminal 1. Now we've got this one here, vterminal 1. We can rename that. So we'll rename that and we'll call that buff 2, for example. So you can see we're now in buff 2. Now the other thing to mention is, because this is all running inside Emacs, this is also running as a Wayland application. So if I run XLS clients, you'll see Emacs isn't listed. What XLS clients does is it lists applications that are running under X Wayland. Also, if I run Xeyes, you can see if I move my cursor over the Xeyes window, which is an X Wayland window, you can see the eyes are moving. As soon as I move it over Emacs, it stops moving, and that's because it can't get any input from that window because it's running under Wayland and not X Wayland. The other thing to mention here is the other advantage is this is also using a proper header bar, so a menu bar or whatever, because you get difference between sort of the way these are drawn is what server side decorations, or what's the other one? I forget. But there's an issue with some terminals like Foot, which is a Wayland terminal, or Alacrity, that don't actually display the correct themed bar in GNOME, and that's just an issue with how sort of GNOME works. So that's another advantage, is we got native toolbars, and it's all integrated. The other thing to note is, as you can see, the terminal is actually taking on the Emacs color scheme. Yeah, so frequently what you'd have to do is, if you're running a separate terminal in Emacs, you'd spend time, doing your X resources, or for URXVT or whatever config, to try and get it to match the Emacs color scheme, so they look the same, got the same fonts, all that kind of stuff. You don't have to worry about that because it's all running in Emacs, so it's going to use the fonts and themes that you've actually set in Emacs. So that's another nice thing. So what I'll do is just switch back to the previous buffer. So you can see here I'm switching back with the keyboard shortcuts. I've only just literally in the last couple of hours sort of set up vterms. I haven't got completely into it and how you close the buffers, because normally in Tmux you have a keyboard shortcut where you can actually kill the Tmux tab or session or buffer or whatever you want to call it. In this, I think the only way I figure out is just to exit. So you can see here I'm in buffer 2. If I exit, it switches back to the desktop. So what I want to show you also is copy and paste. So if I come across here and let's copy Melper. So you can see here I'm in insert mode, right? So that's the other thing, is what you've got is, just like Emacs, you've got insert and normal mode. Insert mode is obviously when you're inserting text, and normal mode is when you're moving the cursor around without, entering anything. So if you want to paste, what you actually need to do is be in normal mode. So if I run, normally you'd press Shift Control V, yeah. That's not how it works. What you need to do is actually, you can see here I'm in insert mode. So I'm going to press Escape or Control Left square bracket, and you can see at the moment the cursor is a line. When I shift to normal mode, you can see that the cursor is turning into a box or whatever. But the thing is, now we're in normal mode. If I press P, you'll see it's actually inserted that text. Yeah. So that's one thing, is when you're wanting to insert some text. So if I, whatever, copy that, insert mode, just press Escape, press P, and it'll insert the text. So what we want to do now is actually look at copy mode, and this is basically like the copy mode in Tmux. So it just gets more T. So the other advantage of this is, as you can see, I'm in normal mode here, so I can actually move the cursor up and down and then go back into insert mode. What copy mode is let's bat out a file. So what I'm going to do is bat out a file. I'll bat out the file I'm actually talking about, vterm. So what we can do here is, we've got this thing called copy mode, and there's another one, copy mode, where it can also exclude the prompt from your selection, so that if you're selecting stuff that's running across multiple commands, it will actually exclude the prompt from the copy, so it won't copy the prompt across as well. So what I'm going to do is just make sure, Escape, make sure I'm actually in normal mode. Okay, so I'm in normal mode here, and you can run meta X and then the command, but there's a keyboard shortcut which is it Control C, Control T. Oh yeah, Control C, Control T. vterm copy mode is enabled in current buffer. Now I can select stuff. Okay, so I can come across. I can select all this. Once you've selected it, what you do is just press Return, and it's actually going to put you back, back here. Come on, you bastard. Let me just see if copy mode is enabled. Don't know why it's not let me get out of this. Okay, there we go. Let me just switch across to the scratch buffer, and I should be able to paste that in. As you can see, there we go, pasted all that in. So that's like copy mode in Tmux, with the added advantage is that it can also exclude the prompt. So let me just undo that and switch back to the terminal. Now, the other thing is, so I just yanked that. If I run meta X here and then vterm hash, it will give you all the commands here, because I'm running which keys. You can see here, the one I was just covering was normal state P, that's vterm yank, and that was pasting something in. The other thing here is vterm yank primary, which is actually bound to mouse 2, which is the sort of scroll button on my mouse. And what that does is, because you've got the primary and secondary clipboards, yeah. So if you do something like I was running shush add to add my shush key, for running shush, and what I found was trying to run vterm yank with the normal state wouldn't let me paste in the key. So I had to use vterm yank primary. So if you're having an issue pasting something in, you can just run vterm yank primary or press your mouse button. So that was just something else that I'd sort of come across that I wanted to mention. The other cool thing here is, of course, we can split the Windows and Emacs. So you can see it's actually showing both these. But for instance, I could so we've got desktop here. So what we've done here is we've opened up a split, and I've got diode open showing the desktop on the left and the terminal on the right. But what if I want to swap these windows around? Swap the frames? There's actually a neat feature in Emacs 29 where it will actually allow you to move the frames. Windmove. You see, if I run wind, we've got windmove left. I think it's swap states right. So if I do swap states, windmove, swap states right, is it? Yeah, there we go. So that's actually swapped over the frames. So you could also bind that to keyboard shortcuts as well. The other thing is that if you've got multiple frames open, you'll get other options as well, like move up, move down, move left, right, that sort of thing. So that's a new feature in Emacs 29 that's really nice. But what I wanted to demo is the advantage of having Emacs and the terminal open both in the same window. So for instance, obviously you can then switch across here. So am I in this one? Yeah, so I'm in this buffer here. So what I'm going to do is create a text file called touch. We'll just create a text file called test. You can see Emacs, the diode buffers automatically updating, so I can switch between the buffers like that. So let's open the test file there, and then for example I can do echo foo test, and you can see the text coming up in the other window. I mean, completely pointless, but it's just to show you that you can have the terminal and Emacs open in the same window, so you can do stuff between regular Emacs and the terminal without having to sort of constantly switch side by side. So if I take this out of full screen, what I mean is, typically if you've got a terminal open or something, the issue is you're doing stuff in the terminal and you're constantly switching between the terminal and Emacs. You might even have them on full screen on separate workspaces, and keep switching between the workspaces. So that's another advantage, is you then have the built-in window management of Emacs to be able to switch between the windows. Foo, bar, switch back in there. Oops. Oh, so what am I doing? Echo bar bat test bar bat. There we go. And again, I can just switch switch between the buffers easily. So that's another sort of really nice thing about it. And again, because we're using multi-term, we can create new terminals like that and split between them. So I guess what you could also do is, if I do another split, I should then be able to switch. So we've got vterm here. I can switch the buffers, so I can switch. You can see the buffers actually showing up. Vterm desktop. So we've got, so put that to another one, but so you can see what I mean. So what we got here is we got two instances of vterm running in separate frames. We can easily switch between them, or we can just have one window and switch between. Switch between the different sort of, buffers, and again they're going to show up as buffers here. But again, what I have found is I don't know why it's got a little bit of funny text up here for some reason. So let me just exit those two. Is it going a bit weird for me for some reason? Let me just. There we go. Let me just quit that again. Okay. Let me just open up Emacs again. Scratch. I don't know why is it displaying. I must have hit some key that's like showing. That's mad. I must have hit some key that's actually kind of like activated some kind of tabbing functionality in Emacs that I wasn't aware of. So I don't. That's why that's coming up. I don't. That's weird. Got some. Must have activated some kind of tab thing there. So that must be something in Emacs 29 I haven't seen. So if I come across to the desktop, yeah, that's kind of mad. See, it's like showing the tabs and. Let's do scratch. Yeah, so we got like tabs up here. I've never seen that before. That was a total fluke. I don't know how I did it. So if you know what I've done, please leave a comment. But that's quite mad. But anyway, back to vterm. So you can either start vterm, which is the sort of single one, like that Emacs-libvterm, or you can add keyboard shortcuts to sort of launch vterm. So what I'll do now is, after all that, having a showing you what it does, I'll actually go through and actually show you how you get it installed. There are some required packages you need to build vterm, and on Ubuntu they were cmake, libtool, and libtool-bin. So basically come across here and have a look at the requirements before installing Emacs-libvterm. You need to make sure you have installed Emacs 25 plus with module support and some of these other things down here. So it may vary from distro to distro. Basically, you install those packages, and then what you do is inside Emacs you run mx package install and then vterm, and that's going to pull down the package from Melpa. And I'll just get some more tea. Then what you need to do after you've installed, what you need to do is run Emacs-libvterm. And when you do that, what it's going to do is it's going to say, providing you've installed all required dependencies, it's going to say, do you want me to download and install libvterm? And you type yes. And the reason why we do it this way is because the version that's in your package manager may not be as up to date. So actually running the two stages, you run an mx package install vterm, and then you, after it's downloaded it, you'd run Emacs-libvterm, prompt you to download libvterm. Right, then after that, what you need to do is actually install the multi-vterm package from Melpa as well, and that's mx package install multi-vterm. Now the next step is actually there's some setup that you need to do for vterm. And the other thing that it actually has is what's called directory and prompt tracking, which I'll actually show you. So I'm in vterm here, and if I run, let me just run the prompt a couple of times. So you can see here I've run the prompt a couple of times. What there is there's a keyboard shortcut to jump between prompts. Control C. So I'm running Control C, Control C P to switch back to previous prompts, and we've got Control C Control P N to go to the next ones. So that's prompt tracking, and the way that it does that is it uses a regular expression to match your prompt. So that's why I've sort of for years I've had a 2-line prompt, so I've just simplified it to make the prompt tracking better. The other thing that there is directory tracking, and what that does is if you've opened a let me exit vterm. So I'm on the desktop here, and as you see, when I open multi-vterm, what it's doing is it's opening the terminal to the location of the current buffer. You could see in diode I was in desktop. So what it does is when I open vterm, it's going to open it to that location, which is really convenient. And that's basically directory and prompt tracking, which it mentions down here. So I just scroll down here. So this is the manual installation, some notes about vterm, and further down it's got the shell side configuration. Some of the most useful features in vterm, directory tracking and prompt tracking or message parsing, require shell side configuration. The goal of these functions is to enable the shell to send information to vterm via properly escaped sequences. A function that helps this task is vterm print is defined below. So you can put this in your bash or zshrc. And what it does is it actually checks if you're running things like tmux or screen inside vterm, and it sends the proper control sequences. The other nice thing about this is actually is using xterm 256 as the term, which means that you're not going to run into any issues if you SSH into another machine, because typically a lot of other terminals, things like Lactree or Kitty or Foot, ST terminal, they won't have a term info file on most servers, because they're newer terminals. So when you SSH into a machine using one of those terminals, typically when you type stuff, it goes all over the place and doesn't work properly. So that's another advantage. So this is the vterm print function, and these are some of the functions of vterm. So this is vterm, and of course there's multi-vterm, which builds on this. So this is the clear scrollback. So this is something else you put inside your zsh config. We've got the customization options. There's more stuff you actually sort of put in. This is for the directory tracking. This is so that you can get the current working directory and open a terminal to that location. And you see there's code for zsh, bash, and fish here. So we've got like key stuff on key bindings and the fonts, so you can actually specify the font face just used for vterm. The other thing I should mention is there's if you use H1 line mode in Emacs, which is where the current line is highlighted as you move the cursor up and down, and you enable that globally, that will cause a weird glitch in vterm. So what we do in our config, which I'll show you, is just enable the H1 line mode for specific terms so that we don't get a weird issue in the vterm terminal where, when we type, it's going to highlight the line. So that's just another thing. Also, I'll show you the fonts. We've got stuff for blinking the cursor here. And also, as I mentioned, the cursor prompt depends whether it's, if you're in insert mode, it'll be a bar. If you're in a normal mode, it'll be like a box, You can set the colors here and stuff. And this is the directory and prompt tracking I was talking about, where you can actually switch between your prompt. You can switch back between your prompt. And again, the way what we've got here is actually got a sort of vterm prompt and a bit of code here, and that we sort of put in our zsh, bash, or fish shell. I won't get into message parsing because I haven't really used that. So there's other bits down here. So what I'm going to do is actually go through the bits that I put in my Emacs init.el and .zshrc files to get everything to work. So first of all, we've got the vterm prompt, font, and H1 line mode. So what we got here is the prompt term regular expression. What this does is this matches the your terminal prompt. So you can see here we've got username at system and then the current working directory. I'm baffled at how I got these tabs up here, but it's kind of cool. So that's how we match the prompt. So if you've got a fancy prompt, you're going to need to work on the regular expression so that the prompt tracking works properly. Now these bits down here, the font settings, are shamelessly ripped off from the Emacs from Scratch series on System Crafters, because what I found was I was using the Inconsolata font and tables were breaking in things like W3M or using BAT. And what I found was I needed to switch to some different fonts. So this section here is from System Crafters, where you set the default font size and the variable font size. And I installed the fonts further code. I think it's fonts. I think Cantorel was installed, but the Fira wasn't. So let me figure out what that was called. So I think it was called fonts. Yeah, fonts Fira code. Sorry, it's just not updating OBS. So the fonts that I'm using in this terminal are fonts dash Fira code and also fonts Cantarella. Thanks, Cantarella. Cantarell. And that's installed automatically. So those are the two fonts that I'm using here. So we've got the default pitch face, the fixed pitch face, and the variable pitch face. And the variable fixed pitch face is what's being used, I think, in the terminal. I forget, but doing this setting basically fixed any issues that I was having with tables and things not aligning in the terminal. Now, the next thing is the H1 line mode, which is if I switch across to a file. Yeah, I could just open. As you can see here, I don't know if you can see here, as I'm moving the cursor, you can see the current line is highlighted. Yeah. We don't want that in the actual, we don't want that, we don't want the current line constantly being highlighted in the terminal. So what we do is we add hook prog mode hook hash comma H1 line mode and text mode hook, and what I've got down here is set face background H1 line face, and this is the color I'm using, which is part of the Doom theme, soloized dark theme, I think it is. Yeah. The next bit that goes in our in our Emacs.init el is a section to deal with vterm, with evil and vterm. So this is my sort of current sort of evil setup, and what you need to do is set this with eval afterload evil set initial state vterm mode Emacs. So that ensures that when we switch to stuff in vterm, that it's sort of like working in the normal Emacs mode as opposed to you can also set it to go straight into insert mode. I have occasionally noticed a weird thing sometimes where I start up vterm and then edit something in Emacs and it's not in evil mode. It's in insert mode, so that maybe some slight glitch with my setup. So that's one thing we need to do to set vterm and evil collection to work nicely. Next, we've got the multi-term vterm key bindings, which I stole from YouTube. So today, please, Emacs-libvterm. So here we go. Yeah, so System Crafters is something you want to check out if you're using Emacs, and this is where I got the tip from Bhaskar Chowdhury, Emacs Terminal vterm. He's got a GitHub page, so if I just come across show more, maybe it wasn't this one. Yeah, I thought I had a link to his thought it had a link to his GitHub page, but anyway, that's where I got the key bindings from. So these are the multi-vterm key bindings that he was actually setting. So Control-C TV starts a new multi-term instance, and then we've got next and previous. So that's how you can switch between them. And then we've got Control-C-TR to rename the buffer. And I haven't got into dedicated vterm sort of multi-term vterm buffers. I think this is where you can like set it to open a specific thing, like a specific. You can run it with a specific command like top or something, and then you can sort of toggle it. So I haven't actually got into these. Literally, I only sort of installed this in the last hour or two. So those are the things you need to put in your Emacs init.el. You've got your prompt regular expression. So I've actually commented out my previous prompt. So that's why I'm just getting a sort of default basic prompt, which allows you to switch back into forth between the prompts using this regular expression. We've got the font settings, the H1 line mode, the evil, and the multi-term key bindings. The next thing that we've got is our zshrc setup, but again there are equivalents for bash and fish. We've got the vterm prompt function that checks if you're in tmux and will screen and sends the correct escape sequences through. We've got the vterm clear scroll back. What we've got down here is the vterm directory tracking and prompt tracking, which again were allowing you to switch up and down between your prompts and also open a terminal to the current directory that you're in. So the prompt tracking is so again, if I just do several things here. So if I press Control-C, Control-P or N, it will switch up and down between the prompts. So you should see the, if you're looking closely, you see the prompt moving. The next one down here, the next one, and the next one. So that's the prompt tracking. The directory tracking is, so if I come into downloads, for instance, and now I run the keyboard shortcut to open a multi-term terminal, which is Control-C TV, Control-C TV, you see that the terminal opens to the same location as the previous buffer we're in, basically in diode. So that's a really nice thing. So again, just come to desktop. I want the desktop. And again, the other thing we had was the copy mode. So let's back out test. You can see test there. So you can see at the moment I'm in insert mode because the cursor's a bar. If I press escape, I'm now into normal mode. Got evil key bindings. So we can either do vterm copy mode, and you can see which is bound to Control C, Control T. There's also another one, copy mode. I can't remember. It's like prompt exclude copy mode or something. I'm trying to think where it is. I can't remember what it's called, but there's another one which will actually exclude the prompt as well. Is it multi? Let me just check if it's multi-vterm. Yeah, I can't remember what it's called, but so anyway, sorry, I'm in normal mode here. If I could do Control C, Control T, I'm in vterm copy mode, which is like copy mode in Tmux. I can select that, and all you do is just press enter, and it puts you back here. I can then switch to switch to Scratch. Oh, has it not pasted it? Ugh. Let me do it again. So copy mode. Yeah, there we go. So it's pasted it in. So you get the idea. I can switch back to here. And again, we can rename this. So rename the buffer, desktop, create a new instance, Control C TV, rename that buffer, downloads, and then we can switch back and forth between those buffers. So as you can see here, if I just switch buffers, the desktop buffer's showing up, so I can actually just do it, Control XB, or I can do Control CT next, or Control CT P, to switch between them. So that's another nice feature. Yeah, it's about as fast as URXVT. I did some time test, time, and then run a command with both URXVT and vterm, and they're pretty much the same. In some cases, vterm is actually faster than URXVT. So the other thing is it doesn't actually handle images. Obviously, if I run newsboat here, you can see there's no. Now see if I can actually get the cursor on the image. Okay, so you can see down here in the URL bar, I've actually got the cursor over the image. I can run view image, and you'll see it's opening up the image with NSKIV. So you can open images from W3M in an external viewer, because vterm doesn't display images only, really xterm and URXVT do. I mean, things like Kitty do, but they're slightly different. So this is newsboat, so you can see that all works fine. Run NCMPC. Show you it sort of scrolling up and down. But yeah, it's really nice. It's got a lot of functionality that you'd typically use in Tmux, like copying. So again, with the copy and paste, there are a couple of things. So if I copy this, like clear, okay, so switch back, you can see I'm in insert mode. So what you need to do is press escape, press P, and it will paste that in. so it pasted in clear. And again, the other thing you've got is mouse 2. So mouse 2 will copy the primary clipboard. So as you can see there, I'm just pressing my scroll, it pasted that in. Is there anything else I need to sort of cover? So that's basically the sort of introduction and README for Emacs-libvterm. That's multi-vterm. And again, this is all the notes that basically we went through. So we need to install the dependencies first, cmake, libtool, libtool bin, maybe different on your system. We then ran mx package install vterm. Once we've done that, we need to run mx-vterm. You're going to get a little prompt come up saying, do you want to download and install libvterm? Click yes. Then you install multi-vterm. You whack all this in your these sections in your Emacs init.el, el rather, and these are the sections for zsh. And again, there are the equivalent for bash and fish on the Emacs-libvterm GitHub page. So basically, you do all that, and then you've got a nice terminal. So get a weird bug sometimes when I resize, it goes really small for some reason. But you can see this is a pure GTK application. So the other thing, even if it wasn't running in Emacs and it was just terminal, it's got quite a few sort of advantages. It's running. It's a pure GTK application. It's running natively on Wayland. We got the functionality of Tmux multiplexer sort of built in. We've got copy and paste. We don't have to muck about with any themes. It's going to automatically use the Emacs themes and fonts. So you don't have to go through and mess around with X resources, putting individual colors and stuff like that in. You got integration with Emacs, in that you can do stuff like open separate frames. I'm still baffled as to how I got this thing here. Attempt to close sole tab in frame. I don't know how I got the tabs, but that's pretty cool. But yeah, so you can do this. So let me just actually split some more. So what I want to do is CD downloads. Why they all? I need to open sort of separate buffers. You can see they're all running vterm desktop. So what I need to do is actually, so that's vterm 1. That's vterm 1 there. So what I'm going to do is vterm 2. So what I'm going to do is just move some of these to different directories. So we've got a home directory, desktop, and download. So what I wanted to show you was the windmove thing. So if I do meta x wind, so we've got move left, we've got swap states right, toggle side windows, delete left, display new frame, delete right, display up. So we've got like display up, swap states down, swap states up. So if I do swap states up, so wind move states up, what it should do is move the downloads to the top frame and the desktop to the bottom. Yeah, there you go. Downloads and then desktop. So wind move swap states down. Yeah, you can see swap those. So can I do this left as well? Will this like switch it left? Wind move swap states left. Yeah. So that's then swap the downloads thing to where the home was and the home to where the downloads was. So this is pretty cool, and you can actually set up key bindings for this. So this is kind of similar to what you do with something like xmonad, in sort of manipulating windows and moving them around and creating splits. So this is really nice if you're working with terminal, and also Emacs. So I could exit this one here. So if I exit that, I could just come across to the desktop, open that test file. So now we've got Emacs running here, and we've got a terminal here and a terminal there, and I can swap them all around. So this is pretty cool, and this is Emacs 29. I think this windmove thing came in. Let's just run it. Is there anything? Tabs? Tab bar, yeah, okay. Tab, change new tab groups, close groups. So I never even noticed we had tabs, but tab bar, detached tab bar, detached. Oh, no, don't know what that did. So yeah, that's another thing in Emacs 29 is the windmove thing. And again, I think. Oh, oops, not in the right doodah. There we go. Exit. Let's just exit all of those, and okay. So Control CT. The other thing isn't there isn't a like in Tmux, you typically when you create new sort of tabs, as it were, create a new thing, they all show up here. I'm not sure. It'd be nice if you could change this, instead of saying vterm -downloads to just saying downloads when you rename it, and actually have all of them visible. I don't know if that's possible, but that would be nice. But I guess what you can also do, like new tab here and Control C T V. So we've actually got vterm 1 there, and then we've got vterminal downloads there. So we can rename that buff. Just call it buff. So you can see vterm buff and vterm downloads. You can just switch between them. And again, I haven't found a keyboard shortcut to close the multi-vterm thing. I think there might be one for the dedicated Windows, but I'm just doing exit for the moment. Let's close that tab there. So that's vterm. Really, it's just like urxvt. Again, we've got nice features like escape. I'm into evil mode there. I can move around. I can just copy stuff. I can enter copy mode. Oops. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much everything. It's it's really nice. It's a good replacement for urxvt and Tmux. I think the other thing is it does show. I don't know if I can show it. It does show icons. I'm just trying to find something that had any. Oh yeah, there we go. You can see the camera, the little camera icons here, like the emojis or what have you. So this does show emojis, which urxvt doesn't, but it doesn't show images. But then most terminals don't, to be honest. So it's got nice font rendering. There we go. See, it's updated. Yeah, you can see here. You can see the cameras. You can see these little hands down here. So if I do the same thing in excuse me, let's just quit that and come across into urxvt. Yeah, so you can see here. You can see the broken icons. You can see we've got the image. But you can see here all these emojis are broken. So that's another nice feature, is it's got support for emojis and stuff. So yeah, I was looking around different terminals. There's things like obviously Alacrity, but the issue is I think you got to build it yourself. If you want something like Ubuntu, I think it's available in things like Arch Linux, but a couple of issues with it is so you got to build it yourself. The title bars won't work, and wasn't sure that I really wanted something that used my GPU. To be honest, because if you're doing something else, might cause spikes in the GPU, and then you got issues. Update your GPU driver, and then the terminal doesn't work, or that kind of thing. So I couldn't be faffed to manually install Alacrity to give it a go. I think I gave it a go before, and I found like every time you opened a terminal, that your GPU would shoot up to like 50% or something. So I gave that a miss. I also gave Kitty a miss because although that's in the Ubuntu repositories, it seemed like too much bells and whistles. So yeah, I was looking for search for Wayland terminal. Awesome Wayland. So where's the terminals? Terminal emulators. Yeah, I went through and had a look at this list here. I also had a look at the new GNOME console terminal, which is really stripped down, and I didn't like that. Also didn't like the GNOME terminal. So sort of out of these, I think XFCE is also sort of based on GNOME. ST's not. That doesn't work under Wayland. It works as an X-Wayland application. So Foot is another fast, lightweight, minimalist terminal emulator. So this, I'm going to scroll down. So it actually works in a client daemon mode, a bit like your XVT. I had to go over it. It's okay, but I didn't like the font rendering. Also, it uses its own term info file, so you have problems SSHing into other machines. And again, the header bar wasn't working properly, so I gave Foot a miss. There's other one. I think Termites, is that the one that's been deprecated? Yeah, it's obsolete. So there weren't that many native Wayland terminals. So actually using vterm inside of Emacs that's running, as a pure GTK application under Wayland means you've got a GTK terminal running natively under Wayland. You got nice font rendering. You got all the integration with Emacs. So yeah, it's a really good replacement for using URXVT or something similar. I haven't noticed any difference in the performance between it and URXVT. But you're not saying get rid of all your terminals, but you might want to keep one hanging around. But instead of having terminal on today, instead of having a terminal and Emacs open separately, what I was typically doing was hang on, I'll move this to. Move that to 3, move that to 2. So what I was normally doing was like something like this, running. Come on. Okay, so I'm normally running URXVT in one workspace full screen, doing stuff in Tmux, like that, and then switching across to Emacs in another workspace. So the advantage of this is I've just got one window now. Instead of switching back between either different workspaces or having two windows, doing something in here and then having to switch back here and switch back here, it's all inside of Tmux. You've got all the inside of Tmux, inside of Emacs. You got all the advantages of doing stuff like splitting windows. Again, you can swap. You can swap swap the windows around with window swap. So the windmove thing. So windmove, swap states left. Give a second and see it swaps them over. So that's another thing that I'll have to look into binding the keys for. But I think that's really useful because you've now got from side by side swaps. What the fuck was it? Wind move swap states, yeah. Wind move swap states right. So you can then just move between them easily like that. Swap the windows around. So it's much more convenient. Just being able to manage the windows within Emacs and being able to switch between a terminal and Emacs or diode or whatever it is. So I can split that. I could then just come to desktop. So you've got diode there, the terminal, Emacs. So yeah, it's really nice just being able to sort of switch between all the frames. Kill that out. You can swap them around. It's much nicer workflow. And again, the only issues are the copy and paste is slightly different again. You've got to be in normal mode and you press P, or you can do the your mouse scroll. And then you've also got the copy mode. So that's one thing I came across. And also when you're copying stuff from the primary clipboard, the issue I mentioned as well. But I've been using it for about a day. It took a little while to put some of the sort of tweaks in. And again, one thing I did notice, I don't know if it's going to do it now, is sometimes when I was like coming into opening vterm and then switching into Emacs, it wasn't in evil mode. But I think I fixed that. But if you get that issue, you can just run MX evil mode. So that's just one little thing I came across. But I'll put all the links to this under the video. I'll put links to my Emacs and zsh. So if I come across in here, Emacs init.el. So I'll put links to my full Emacs file here, and also my zshrc file here, and you can see I've commented out my previous prompts and I've just got the vterm stuff in there like that. And I'll put a link to this document here, which is giving you all the steps to install the required dependencies, install vterm, the vterm library, multi-term, what you need to add to your Emacs init.el, and also your zshrc file. And again, this is the actual Emacs-libvterm package here, with all those shell configuration options, and that's multi-vterm as well. So I'll put links to all this under the video, but I'd say this is a really good replacement for UIXVT and Tmux, or an alternative to the ST terminal. So if you want looking for a term, if you use Emacs and you're looking to switch your current terminal, having something integrated into Emacs is great. Say I haven't got into things like Alacrity or Kitty, but there aren't that many sort of Wayland terminals out there that are kind of, they tend to be, a lot of the terminals tend to be written by one person is the issue. And if the person managing the project's a bit funny, which apparently some of these people like the Kitty developer or the Alacrity developers can be, then you're just depending on one person. So this is more of the libvterm seems to be more of a collaborative community effort as opposed to a one-man band, So that's another nice thing. It's not, just one person. Like I think the termite developer or whatever it's called, that other terminal, just stopped maintaining it. So that's another issue. And things like ST and X resources and URXVT aren't running natively under Wayland, and URXVT does have issues with certain emojis, things like that, fonts. So yeah, it's a really old terminal. So I just wanted something that was a bit different, and looking around at all the options, I thought vterm and multi-vterm integrated into Emacs was really nice, because now literally all I use is Emacs and Firefox. I mean, that's basically all I use. Before I'd use URXVT, Emacs, and Firefox, but now literally I just need Emacs. So that's another nice thing, is it just means you don't have to worry about. Yes, you have to put the vterm configuration in Emacs, but it just means you've got like all your settings for Emacs and your terminal in one configuration file. What obviously your shell file as well. But it just means you don't have to go around and configure your terminal, set all the fonts, do all that, because it's using the fonts and the settings in Emacs. So that's another really big advantage. And again, the only way for vterm, what I'm just doing is exit. I'm not sure if there is a keyboard shortcut or anything to quit the vterm things like there is in Emacs, in Tmux rather. And again, the other thing that would be nice is to be able to have all the vterm sort of buffers listed, just like you would in Tmux. So as you can see in Tmux, when you create the new sort of buffers or sessions or tabs or whatever you want to call them, you can see them all here, whereas in vterm you don't. So you can see terminal 1 there, terminal 2. Okay, so you can actually click these as well. Oh wow, that's mad. So I can actually cycle through all these things. I didn't even realise that. That's a bit mad. But yeah, you can see them in buffers as well. They'll show up in buffers, so you can see here when I switch buffers, the multi-vterm buffers are showing up. So vterm 1, and switch buffers, vterm 2. So I suppose it's maybe not needed, but I just thought it'd be nice if you could see a list of them the same way you could in Tmux. I suppose it's just switching over from something, you expect the same behaviour. But that's hopefully in-depth overview of vterm and multi-vterm, how you get it set up, some of the little quirks like the copy and paste, some of the cool things like the prompt tracking. Again, Control C, Control P, Control C, Control P, and N. So that's shifting up and down, and also the directory tracking, where if I quit that, so completions. Let me go back to. Let's go to downloads. So I'm in the downloads. You see now when I open a vterm, buffer, it's automatically opening to that location. So that's it's really nice. You can rename them. So downloads. So again, it's also you can switch there, switch back to the buffer. So that's the other nice thing. It's basically showing you it's integrated with all the buffers and everything, and the window modes, And again, you can use the windmove thing command in Emacs-29 to move these all around. So yeah, give vterm a go. I'll put links to all this under the video. Can't think of anything. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I ran across sort of with this. But the other thing is the way I installed Emacs-29. Where was it? What the flipping hell did I call it? vterm. I did a video about it. The flipping hell did I call it? I think I might have put it under Nick's PKGs. We just check. Yeah. Was it this one? Yeah. Yeah. So this is the instructions that accompany a video I did about setting up Emacs-29 as a pure GTK application using Nick's PKG's package manager and home manager. So this is basically how I got Emacs-29 installed as a pure GTK application running natively under Wayland, and then set up vterm on that. So the nice thing about this is we've got the latest version of Emacs running on Ubuntu 22.04. So whatever version of Linux you're on, you can actually use the Nix package manager to install the latest version of Emacs. So it's running natively under Wayland. You get all the nice new features like the windmove thing, so you can move all the windows around. I'll have to look at how you can add some keyboard shortcuts for that, because that's really cool. So Emacs-29 and vterm, marriage made in heaven perhaps, and also these tab things. I don't know how I did that, and also I don't know how I'll get rid of them now. So if you're using vterm or multi-term or Emacs-29 and you've got any tips or anything that I've missed, leave a comment and I'll put notes to all this under the video. And that's all for now.